everybody, it's Rory from A&S Gear. We're going to look at an accessory for your Etek 5 or really your Gtek also. It'll work in there as well. This is the OLED screen for those particular markers. So if you don't like how they've set up the programming through the Eteks and the Gteks where you have to know colors and blinks and things like that in order to change modes and gun firing settings, things like that. They do have a OLED screen which will mount up to the board and replace this blank window that you see on the back right here and give you a graphic interface to easily do your programming. So it makes it a little bit easier, makes it a little more intuitive on how to change particular settings inside of the board itself. So we've got one here, we've got an Etek 5, and we're going to go ahead and do the install. It's not difficult. You do have to be careful in some sections because it is possible to ruin parts of the gun, or the board I should say. But as long as you take your time and do things properly, you really shouldn't run into an issue. And I'll point out the things you really want to look for. So on the Etek 5, I do have the grips already off, so we're going to remove them completely off. Just get rid of them, get them out of the way. The less parts that are in the way, the easier things usually are to work with. You're going to have 3 wire harness setups right here. You've got this top one right here, which runs up to the solenoid, the middle one, which is your set of eyes, and this lower one, which is the micro switch wiring. So first thing you want to do, is disconnect all those things. So we're going to disconnect the switch, we're disconnect the eyes, and we're going to disconnect the solenoid. Just get all those out of the way. Now the plugs are all different sizes, so you can't accidentally put them in the wrong spot when you go to put it together. There's a 2-pin, a 3-pin, and a 4-pin, although the 2-pin only has, or the 3-pin only has 2 wires in it. But they match up to the corresponding slots on the board, a 3-pin, 2-pin, and a 4-pin size, so they easily go back together. You're not having to guess which one goes where. So now we've got the everything unhooked. We can actually push this out from the other side. Now you could push it all the way through and be very careful with the wiring, or if you look at the other side here, you know that your battery is still connected. So the easiest thing to do is pull out the battery, disconnect it, and then you can easily push the harness or the board through. You're not having to worry about your wires or anything like that. So we're going to pull this thing all the way out. We're going to feed our wire through here, and here's our board. Now on our board, there's a block right here, and that's where our screen is going to hook up to it. So the screen is just going to mount up just like that, and then it's going to drop back in here. So once we've got this hooked together, we do need to remove the old blank screen. So this pops out right here. You can see that now there is a, well, you can see better this way. Now you can't even see through there. I'd have to stick my finger in this part right here. You can see there's a window right there, so you can actually see down in there now. So now we're going to drop this back in, making sure everything lines up. Now, what you need to be very careful about when you put this back together is A, that you get the wiring harness back through properly before you set everything down in there, and B, this button right here. Now this button, since there is nothing on the backside in here to hold the button out, if you try to smash the board in and that button is sitting down, it's possible for when the board comes through, the button is sitting forward and the button will actually hit the button on the board, that makes sense, and break it. Because it's sticking forward, the board comes down and it just pushes it off like that. So on the newer version of the Eteks, they've solved that issue with making a rounded button face, I guess. So when you push this down, the rounded edge just naturally climbs up over the button that's on the board. But early versions of the Etek had a flat, like almost squared face. And so if it was in the way and you push that board in, it would snap the button right off of the board. Once you snap that off of there, there's a good chance it's not going to be able to be fixed or go back on there. So what I recommend you do is hold the gun like this so that the button that's inside here, you can kind of see it sticking out right there, it drops down, it falls away as far as it can, and then you can go ahead and put the board in. So harness first, And we're going to look inside here to make sure that the button, as we push it in, that button clears the other button and it's not in the way. And then we can push on it. We can make sure we hear it clicking. We know we've got it in there properly. So that's all the way down in. Now we can go ahead and hook our wiring back up. 1, 2, and 3. Kind of tuck that out of the way so that we don't crush it with our grips when we go to put them back together. Flip that over. Now we can hook up our battery. And then if all is done properly, when we hit the button, we've got our screen. So our screen gives us really kind of all the same things that you would see on an Ego or CS1. It's got a shot count, it's got firing mode, battery level, all sorts of stuff on there that you can scroll through, just like setting any other gun that Planet Eclipse has done with a screen on it before. So it makes it a little bit easier, makes it easier to program, easier to understand, easier to go through your settings, just a little bit easier in general to give you an idea of what's going on in your gun and to change the things that are going on in your gun. So if you like the idea of a screen, definitely pick one of these up, these Etek or Gtek. It's the same screen, works in both guns. OLED displays, they're available through the website. Order yours now through ansgear.com.